Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Buckeye Breakdown. We are back live. This is the third live podcast that we have done. I do not count
Second
last
second
week. It's like
professional one that we've done.
second real podcast, but
that was uh
um,
that was rough. I
yeah,
was talking to like Mason and Hayden and Craig, and they were like, Owen seemed just so rattled, and I was like, yeah, I put him in a little bit of a tough spot because
we
I had
yeah.
had a few adult beverages and was spontaneously coming on and off of camera. So hand up, coach, that one's on me. We'll get better this week.
We'll get better this week, and it's good to like see your face and talk Buckeyes. And we also like didn't have a ton of to talk about heading into the podcast because
Yeah,
we had
the
a bye week, and it was just kind of how much can you really prep for Marshall? Like, yeah, so
yeah,
uh,
stupid bye week. Like, and now I feel like we're at this good point. We're out of these first three games, which like we talked about a ton. Like for the first three episodes, we've talked about a offensive and defensive MVP and then a backup MVP because we were so confident going into the games that you were going to see second and third string guys. Like we're going to start getting into the point of the season where I don't think that's going to be happening every single week we get into Big Ten
yeah.
football. So I'm excited about it, and happy that we got the Buckeyes back on our TV this weekend.
Yes. And will it be on national TV? No, it'll be on a streaming app, which is beautiful. Gotta love
Oh,
having to.
is this the Peacock game or not the
This is the
Peacock? Yeah,
Peacock
is it
game.
the Peacock
Yep.
game?
Yeah.
It's so
So
stupid.
while other like big national games are going on, so like for us YouTube TV subscribers, we can't have the multi-view like when things are 24-3 in the first quarter or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
it's that's annoying.
yeah, so gonna have to like watch on the laptop and then maybe have some other screen or other games on the YouTube TV. But either way, Buckeyes win 49-14 over Marshall. We both spent some time watching it. I was giving you some text updates, and I know that you rewatched it today as well. So I, I first comment I put is pay Chip Kelly like whatever he wants and keep him here for a long time, please. Can we like make sure that this thing is like here for a while? Like that's my
Yeah,
only request.
the offense looks so fluent and creative, and like I saw somebody say something about like Will Howard's air yards. Like, are we worried about him not throwing the ball down the field? It's like, guys, we rattled off an 86-yard touchdown, a 40-yard run. Emeka Ibuka took off. Like, what do you want the guy to do? Do you want him to be like, hey, run a deeper route and score instead of a quick slant that you take to the house or like a bubble screen? Like, I was confused by like somebody that was like, I'm just worried because he's not really throwing the ball down the field. It's like, yeah, he doesn't have to because the the RPO designs and everything have been so sexy to watch. And
Yeah.
Will Howard is so good at them. Chip Kelly's done a phenomenal job. I didn't expect things to click this well this early. When you talk about like a lot of new faces, brand new quarterback, a new weapon in the backfield, a freshman wide receiver, but like everything, our offense never clicked at this level last year at any point in time. And we're already into week three, and it feels like just a night and day difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's the scheme and I mean the weapons ultimately, right? Like the run game is just ridiculous. Like we finally have the two where we've always had, or at least the past few years, we've always had the 5-star wide receivers and you had Stroud and Fields and those guys kind of throwing to them. But then the run game was like Trevion was good, but also would get hurt every
Was he
three
healthy?
weeks. And then it's like you had Chip Trainum, who we brought in to be a linebacker, even though he was a running back at Arizona State. Like you had some of these guys, but man, to have Judkins, to have Trevion, to have of course, the weapons still on the outside. The offensive line is pretty good. I mean, I think Chip Kelly has
Yeah.
a lot to do with it. I mean, we'll give Justin Fry some credit, like clearly some things to pick up in the recruiting world, but I still think that there's a very real chance that we look back at Justin Fry later this year. And who knows what happens in like transfer portal and all that, but we could be pretty happy with how things kind of turned out because it looks like we have 6 guys ultimately, right? Like we have Austin Saravell that's stepping up because he had to step up for Donovan Jackson. He's stepping up, and
they seem to be like really happy about him. Like
yeah,
Ryan Day even said prior to the Marshall game, like we want to find a way to get him on the field and like have him be a part of this because I think you saw the stride from week 1 to week 2, played much better against Western Michigan. Like, yeah, originally when we came into it, not feeling super happy about like the depth piece. Now I feel a little bit better. Obviously, we'll see how that plays out when, you know, you're not playing against MAC teams and things like that, but feel much better about the offensive line.
Very, very good. Very good. The other thing, so I did my first episode of the Buckeye Bets on Friday. Released that. I don't think I presented it as the first pick, but the first line that I looked at when I was prepping for that episode was a Mecca over 67.5 receiving yards. Nails it on the first first catch.
That'll
68-yard touchdown.
That'll do.
Oh, he's back, baby. He's back. I mean, it's not like he ever left, but you know, Jeremiah Smith took some of the spotlight. I mean, even the sports books, I think Jeremiah's was like 88.5. Was the line for his receiving yards, and it's like, okay, so people are like forgetting about a Mecca, and then he came out, had the performance to remind everybody that he's still here.
I don't think that people like I think this is going to shock people as we get deeper into the season. He is going to cement himself as one of the, like, statistically one of the best wide receivers to ever come through Ohio State. He's creeping up in every category: receptions, yards, touchdowns. Like, if he puts together a really, really strong, rest of this season and continues to have performances like he had on Saturday, like, he's going to be up there with all-time greats in what he was able to accomplish as a Buckeye. It's insane to think that guy isn't really being talked about a ton in Buckeye circles because of Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson and Jeremiah Smith. Like, it's insane that we have that luxury, in our wide receiver room. And Carnell Tate is another guy that, like, he's just been very consistent. He's been anywhere that 3 to 5 catches for 50 to 70 yards. Like, things are going to start loosening up for him a little bit now with, people playing Jeremiah Smith a little tighter, Carnell Tate and Ibuka a little tighter. Like, Carnell Tate's also going to eat. So it's all good things when Ibuka gets things going because it makes life easier on the other two guys.
Yeah. Well, the thing ultimately about this offense is that passing game's having a bad day, the running game will pick it up. Running game's having a good or a bad day. Passing will pick it up. Passing has a bad day. Running will pick it up. Like, it seems like Ohio State, even probably playing their, not playing the A game, playing the B game, could win some tough matchups like later on into the season. And that's scary. I mean, what do you do as a defensive coordinator? Like, how do you prep for this team, man? I don't know. Is it now? It's been Marshall. It's been Western Michigan. It's I'm already blanking on the first MAC opponent of the year. Akron. It's only been those, but like, kind of. I mean, we'll talk about some of the defensive struggles, or at least like the limited amount. But is it safe to say the offense is better than the defense right now? Is that an unfair statement?
I don't know. We've given up 20 points over 3 games. Like, 6.
17 or 17 to 20 points over 3 games.
Yeah. It's also the one touchdown shouldn't have counted.
True.
But, that's is what it is.
But I would say there's not glaring weaknesses. Sorry. There are maybe more weaknesses on the def. Like linebacker plays been okay, but I'd say there's some things like Sonny and CJ and some of those guys need to pick up a little bit. You know, you miss Tyleek. Clearly they've had more maybe injury rotations going on there, but I don't know. You look at the offense, like running game's good, passing game's good. Like, yes, we don't know about Will Howard with the deep ball yet. He hasn't had to do that. Offensive line looks good. Tight ends are doing their jobs. Like, but yeah, to your point, it's only been 20 points. I just think that there's like a couple of things of like,
Yeah, and that was one of the more glaring things from Saturday was like you could tell Tyleek Williams was missed in that interior. It felt like it affected linebackers and being able to get to the ball carrier because we weren't pushing back as fast, so they got their run game going a little bit. Caden Curry's having a phenomenal game. He gets kicked out. Like this is back-to-back games that we've had players that were playing well get kicked out of the game. Yeah. And I have this, like, this is my dumb, like, don't know, just dumb fan feel, but like Ohio State's defense, it's got to be tough to get up to go play against Akron and Western Michigan. And like offense has all the fun that you could possibly have in the world because they're just moving the ball down the field. But like defensively, it's like, if you go out and you have a bad game, you still only give up 14 points. Like that's kind of where we're at with the defense. I think they'll be fine. There are worries of like JT Tumalovala has just been kind of quiet. There just hasn't been the wow factor I think we were kind of expecting. Like at this point in the year, I thought we would have already had like 3 or 4 defensive scores.
Yeah, JT, he just seems to be the big game guy. He seems to be the one that like, well,
he's kind of going through the motions right now.
Uh-huh.
But no, I think defensively fine. I understand what you're saying is like the offense is looking to be the better side of the football, but I think when it comes down to big games, we'll get quickly reminded how good we are on that side of the ball.
It's a fun time to be. I mean, this is just it's the next evolution, but like to be where we're at, where it's like, all right, we're winning with the offense, or we're winning with the run game and the defense. It's just a fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fun
night and day difference between CJ Stroud had 480 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half. Like it's just a little bit of a different feel than some of the years in past. We did have a special guest that appeared on Saturday, which was really fun. Old special teams coach Parker Fleming came back to represent the Buckeyes. We had 3 kickoffs go out of bounds. We had a very, very fortunate muffed punt that was that we were saved by an illegal formation. Just special teams felt like it was it felt like last year.
I'm not a coach. I'm not a player. I played 1 year of like high school football, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but like, dude, come on. You have so many athletes in Ohio State and you're the program that struggles. Like you're one of the top brands in college football and you're the program that struggles with special teams.
Yeah.
Are we serious?
I mean,
I don't know.
You look back at the Urban Meyer days and like special teams was not an issue. It was like he was very adamant. Like this is one of the most important parts of this, of a football team is special teams. It just seems like we're now on like year 3 in a row of special teams just not looking great. Looked pretty good weeks 1 and 2. I understand it's just an off day. Things happen. Like I don't want to just pinpoint, but like 3 kickoffs out of bounds.
Dude, come on.
We want to talk about the defense, but like also the defense was starting on the 40-yard line every time.
True.
So it's they were already starting midfield. Is what it is.
No, it isn't what it is, because the problem is you do that against Oregon or Michigan or Nebraska. I don't care. Like the rest of the schedule, you can't be doing that. And like, if I don't know what they're gonna do with fielding overall, like they ended up bringing somebody else in, but like it seems like it was a mental thing. I think I don't know. I mean, how do
Well,
you? I
I
don't
I
know.
saw somebody. I think it was on like the podcast had like uh, somebody on that said their suspicion is that he like got hurt early on after a kick, and
Okay.
that's that. It looked a hell of a lot like he was telling Ryan Day that the wind was affecting
Yes.
it, but
Yes, he
they're under
was.
the impression that he was trying to tell him that something else was going on. But either way, like you said, those things like you do that against like the Penn States, the the Oregons, the Michigans, like you put your team in a very, very tough spot. Like you're not going to play against Marshall every weekend. So hopefully those
Yeah.
things get cleaned up. The only other thing I really had from the game, and you put it on the show plan, but it needs to be talked about. The Devin Brown experience. I'm done with it. Love the
Yeah.
kid, love the kid, but golly, it just is hard to watch him play quarterback right now. There's no spark, there's no big plays. Like I know he's not out with the ones, but still, I think you got to move to Julian Sayin, who's going to be your starting quarterback next year.
Yeah. Yeah. No question. I mean, I think that's where it was trending through the end of the off season, and I think it's where it's gonna continue to trend is yeah, it's got to be saying. I think the overall thought has been like, well, if Will Howard gets hurt on a play, you'll throw in DB and things will be okay. But if you had a week or two to prep for an opponent, you would put in Julian Sayin, and it's like, no, let's just get to a point where like
Or
if Will
that's
Howard's
yeah.
hurt, like we need to like even if it's a one series, like let's get to a point where Julian Sayin's a guy, get him some reps. But yeah, like these end of the dude, like I know he again burned the boats, all the fun stuff that he did. Like that's awesome. He's had his opportunities
Yeah.
multiple times, and yes, some of it has been injury, bad luck. But yeah, it's time to go learn some action, buddy. Like go go to Syracuse and shine on a Friday night. But like,
Well, yeah, it's weird. I haven't heard anything about Syracuse losing on Friday night when I heard McCord Heisman, like, and people getting their jabs off that like Ryan Day was ruining Kyle McCord. Now it's like this is why McCord works at Syracuse, because it's great when he's playing well. If he doesn't, who gives a shit? Because it's Syracuse
yeah,
football and
it's
nobody's paying
Syracuse.
attention. Like it's yeah. But whew,
Hayden's the number one Kyle McCord,
yeah,
number one
well,
fan.
yeah, Hayden. I think he still has the jersey. So it's that's unfortunate. It's okay. I have the Baker Mayfield Browns jersey as well. So you
Oh,
live
I
and
bet
you
you
live and you learn with your number 6 jerseys, and you move on.
bet you could. I bet you would love to be wearing that jersey on Sundays right now.
No,
I bet you would.
I went through that once, and it did not work. Yeah, I'm happy that things were working well for him in Tampa, but I'm good. We can move on. We don't need to talk about the Browns. Nobody wants to talk about the Browns right now. So move to Saturday. We open up Big Ten play, like you said, on the cock
Yep.
against Sparty, night game, which kind of a big fan of.
Yeah.
The 7:30 games are like perfect for me. Kids go to sleep. I sit there, drink my beer, watch the game. It's awesome. But kind of an interesting. I think Michigan State's much better than I thought they were going to be coming into the season.
Yeah.
I don't think they're great, but I was expecting a pretty rough Michigan State team, and I think they're just a little bit better. Where you got to take things like you have to ramp it up a notch. It's Big Ten play. I think expectations are going to be a little higher for Michigan State than I originally expected.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean it usually takes a year for things to settle in, but they're doing pretty good. I mean, they did lose to former Ohio State legend, offensive coordinator, now head coach Bill O'Brien. So
Yeah,
they
I
did
mean,
just they are coming off a loss, which yeah,
a
I
lot
mean,
of people, don't talk about it. Bill O'Brien never lost a game as offensive coordinator for Ohio State. Never
never
lost a
lost a
game.
game, never lost a game.
Um, but no, like the Boston College team's not terrible.
No,
Um,
no, that's the thing. Is like, yeah, Boston College has had a pretty good. See, I don't think they were ranked this past week, but they had been ranked. I think they were like 24 at one point. So,
yeah, they
um,
they took Missouri down to the wire.
yeah,
Like,
so definitely more of an opponent than I think this is the perfect lead in to
entrance
the Big
into,
Ten.
yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
because if this first if this first Big Ten on the road or night game was going to be in Oregon or even Iowa, Nebraska, one of those schools, be a little more concerned just with how things are going. But with where I'll take it. I'll take the Michigan State good lead into things, figuring things out. Have a quarterback who seems, he's finding his way, but he's a first year quarterback, young guy,
Yep.
dual threat, which I think after seeing what Marshall did a little bit, I don't know if maybe they were game planning for that as much as they will be game planning for Aiden Childs, but it does scare me a little bit after what we saw. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I agree with Hayden here. Like I think the Buckeyes win this convincingly. I don't think the first quarter is going to look all that great. Again, kind of settling into things, but yeah, I think the Buckeyes will end up handling their business and winning pretty convincingly here. So, how do you feel about the game on Saturday overall?
Yeah. I mean, I think we win very convincingly. I didn't expect it to be, or I didn't expect to be as, maybe I don't want to call it nervous, but it's just going to be a tougher game than I had originally thought. I didn't think that they would be sitting at 3-1, coming into this game.
Yeah,
So no, it'll be fun. I think it's a good test to see, is what we've seen so far a product of us playing against MAC teams, or are we really the real deal? I think we're the real deal, and I think the Marshall team that we played on Saturday, like I think they're a lot better than people give them credit for. They've had some pretty darn good players on the offensive side of the ball. So no, I'm excited for Saturday. You want to get into offensive and defensive MVPs?
absolutely. Let's do it.
Are
So
we
I
are
think
we are we going to be cocky and go backups on this Big Ten football? Are we still doing backups?
let's do it. Let's
Okay,
do it. Let's see how it plays out. But yeah,
I
let's
like
do
it.
it. Let's do it.
Okay,
Okay, I have the first pick because I think I gave you both first picks last week because I was just a good friend and it was a
good.
terrible
I
episode.
was going to
So
say couldn't tell you.
I actually didn't even write down what our picks were, and I didn't even take the time to go listen back and figure out what our picks were. So that's okay. So all right, I will start off. I'm gonna go Judkins. I think that we're going to win it on the ground again. I think that Judkins is my stat line that I'm putting out there. I think 125 yards, 2 touchdowns, takes care of his business. And oh, by the way, Trevion Henderson will probably do the same exact thing. You get over 100, get 2 touchdowns. But yeah, I'm going to go Judkins on this one. I think he's the. It's hard to say he's the one. The true 1A, but
He's the 1A.
But he's the 1A.
He's the 1A.
Yeah.
Love Trevion to death. Also, just an insane, like, I'm going back, I watched the game again, looked at the box score. Trevion Henderson only rushed the ball 6 times.
Yeah.
6 times. Like, there were games last year where we were screaming pleading to run the fucking football with Travion Henderson. and this year, like, we're happy as all get out with Travion having 6 carries in a blowout win. Like, it's just a night and day difference. If you're going there, I'm going to go welcome to the Big Ten. Everybody's going to remember this performance. Jeremiah Smith, 3 touchdowns, 150 yards.
Holy shit.
It's going to just be one of those. It's going to be one of those amazing performances where everybody's like, golly, because correct me if I'm wrong, Michigan State also has a pretty darn good freshman wideout.
Sounds right.
I'm trying to remember the kid's name.
Not Jeremiah Smith, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's not Jeremiah Smith. That is 100% sure. I'm trying to remember the kid's name. I don't think it's the... Nope, that kid's a senior. This is great podcasting, by the way.
Love it.
Yep. Anyways, I thought they had a pretty good freshman. Isaiah Johnson. He's got 6 catches, 131 and a touchdown. Never mind. I'll shut up. Anyways, but I think this is going to be like, we've hyped him up. He's performed. He's made his presence felt in every single game. This is going to be like the big, like, oh shit, we've got to, like, the rest of the Big Ten's going to be like, okay, we have a problem here. And yeah, so I get the defensive then, right?
Yeah. You go ahead and lead off. I'm blown away at the stat line. 3 touchdowns. I love it. But I'm just like taking a second to process the stat line here.
Which, I mean, if Judkins gets 2 and Jeremiah Smith gets 3, I think we're in pretty good shape. But
I would say so.
Yeah, I think he's just going to find the end zone. Also, I think they're going to find a way. I think we'll see more Emeka Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith, maybe end arounds, like, involved in the run game a little bit more. We haven't seen a ton of that yet, and I think that's for a very good reason. But I think that's another like kink in this offense that Chip Kelly's going to like flip on, and everybody's gonna be like, "Holy shit, what do you do against these guys?"
That's what again, I'll go back to the first point I made in this episode. Pay that dude whatever he wants. Keep him here for however long we can. Because there are, even though it's been clicking on all cylinders on the offense, like I feel like only 25% of the playbook has been open so far. There is a lot in that other 75%. So
it's hard to open it up too much when you're scoring in 3 to 4 plays.
Yeah, exactly.
It hasn't been a huge challenge for the last couple of weeks. Defensive side, I went with it last week. I'm gonna go with it this week. Caleb Downs.
Okay.
This isn't even this is something I need. I want to see it. We know he has all the ability in the world. It just hasn't been like the immediate impact I think we were waiting to see. We go into Big Ten football now. I think he goes lights out and has one of those just big games. Lathan Ransom has been the better of the safeties so far, as far as making tackles, making big plays. Caleb Downs. It's going to be two big welcome to the Big Tens. Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs.
I love that because I Caleb Downs has clearly had his presence seen on the field, but it definitely has felt like, and maybe this is what it felt like for Alabama fans last year, but there's been like an element of like, all right, like I want to see like bigger plays, but maybe that's expecting too much from him at this point.
And maybe he's a big game guy.
Exactly.
We'll see.
Speaking of big game guys, I know it's not the biggest game, but I do think he's maybe listening to the episode, maybe listening to other podcasts and reading the blogs, and he hasn't been showing up, and JT Tuimoloau. I think that he's going to show up in this game and hush the doubters a little bit on on that defensive line concern if there was any. So
Yeah.
expecting, I don't know what craziness is going to happen. I don't think it's going to be a Penn State level stat line. I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy, but it's going to be, you're going to feel the presence
Okay.
of JT. So that's where I'll lead for this
I
one.
I like it, and I think like if we're seeing it as fans, that like it kind of feels like the effort hasn't been where we expect it to be on a like that stuff's going to show up uh in film, and like
Yep.
coaches are going to be talking to them, and like you didn't come back to Ohio State to have an average season and not help
Yeah.
your draft stock. Like you got to start putting some things on tape and showing that you're that guy that dominates Penn State. Like you're that
Yep.
guy that shows up in these big games. So I like that. Um, I do you want to call an interception? I just feel like there's an interception. Just they throw a quick little out and he makes one of those freak of nature plays.
You think
That's
so?
that's the feeling I have.
Okay. No,
Because
I mean,
he
I'll
was going to
call
be
it.
my second one if I didn't get Caleb Downs first.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was high on this as well.
Okay. I'll call it and take credit for it, even though you called it. So that's how it works.
I didn't even want it.
Um,
I just forced you to do that.
That's okay. I'm gonna look like a genius next week. Cool. All right, backups because we're getting cocky and we think that things will be getting the backups in here. So, Julian saying he's gonna throw another touchdown. I'm calling it. Sorry, DB.
Do you think they go to saying if
I
if
don't.
it gets to backups? Do you think they go straight to him?
Yeah,
I
do it.
think
Why
they
not?
do.
Here's the deal. You only have so many opportunities where you're going to be on the road at night. Yeah, it's not going to be the same environment. You can't replicate that when it's the third or fourth quarter. Like it's not going to be the loud crowd at the beginning. Clearly, if you're putting backups in,
Yeah.
but get the reps.
And Devin Brown got his shot last week, so it's
Right.
like they both got an opportunity against Western Michigan. Julian Saint outperformed him.
Yep.
Devin Brown got his shot last week, didn't get it. Like it's time to see if some if things are a little nicer on the other side.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, I think he'll get his moment. Yeah, he's going to throw another touchdown. I don't know to who. I won't call that, but maybe you got a prediction for us on your backup.
So I see Mason has Brandon Ennis touchdown in the chat. I'm gonna go with Mylan Graham as
Ooh.
the backup that's going to score, and I could see him maybe getting some runs with the ones.
Okay.
Day has alluded to the fact that they want to get him more involved. Special teams seems to maybe still be in play, even though Ennis has performed pretty well outside of the muff punt that obviously got
Yeah.
alleviated, but he's played pretty good. If he doesn't trip, Turf Monster doesn't get him, he probably takes that one to the house, which was disappointing. But I think it's going to be a Julian saying to Mylan Graham, and it's going to be like that. Everybody shrugs their shoulders of like, holy shit, they've just got so many guys that can do this. And it'll be a good taste of what Buckeye fans are going to see next year and the following years, where you have Jeremiah Smith, Mylan Graham, like just dogs, Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to go with Mylan Graham. I think I actually went with that last week as well, if I remember right, or maybe 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. I don't remember.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, let's get some more freshman connection out here. Love to see it. I mean that recruiting class is, I think, going to be,
when we look back at it, everybody's like there's guys on the defensive side of the ball that haven't and won't see the field this year, like Edric Houston and like these names, like they're going to be the next guys up after Jack Sawyer and JT Toole. Like that was a good class, and hopefully we continue to build on that momentum.
Yeah, I mean they're just going to have more time to build within the system because they won't have as many seniors or guys sticking around that have really developed themselves since sophomore year.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys have Kenyatta Jackson, Caden Curry have been a little overshadowed with the presence of others. I think Edric Houston and some of these names in the class are going to stand out here. Okay. Well, quick rundown. So I got Judkins, you got Jeremiah Smith, Caleb Downs, and then I got Tula Maloau. And then we have the backups. I have Julian Sand, Mylan Graham. We're just going to call it right now. It's going to be a Julian Sand, a Mylan Graham touchdown there. So that will wrap up the MVP picks for this week. We'll recap and see how those are tracking at the beginning of next episode. I want to take a look around before we go, any other comments, predictions or anything on the Michigan State game before we take a look around the college football world?
The only other one, like we talked about it briefly after Western Michigan, like Ryan Day seems to be thriving in this CEO role and just so much more engaged in like things outside of what column or like what play call am I throwing out next, like sitting there and having a 3-minute conversation with the kicker running off the field, like sitting there in the ref's ear and getting a flag thrown on him. Like those are things that like he has the ability now to be a little bit more animated, be that kind of leader. So it's been nice to see. I'm hoping that kind of remains the consistent thing as we get into Big Ten play, these bigger games, that he continues to have that fire, continues to fight for his guys. But it's been a lot of fun to watch.
He looks thinner too. That's just an observation I made. I feel like
he's been in the weight room, baby.
He seems like he's probably not doing as much stress eating or something like that. He seems a little thinner, but either way. Okay. Look around college football world. So we'll talk about it briefly. Lincoln Riley blew it against the team up north this past week. What'd you think about USC Michigan?
I know it's easy to say Lincoln Riley blew it, but like your guy's just missing easy wrap up tackles. Like Lincoln Riley's not, the one that blew a tackle and gave up a 60-yard run to put them in a position to
on a dive play.
On a dive, yeah. Like I understand, like it comes down to coaching and like the basics, but like you're a college football player. That's got to be a play in that situation. Michigan throws for 38 yards.
Dude.
It's a 2-minute drill, and they still were desperately running the ball to try and keep Orji away from, having to make a play with his arm. So, like, as much as I want to put it on Lincoln Riley, they fought back. They got back into that game, had themselves in a position to win. They were a missed tackle away from walking out of there with a win. But I said it on the fake episode too. I thought we were going to leave that game saying USC is probably not as good as we thought they were, and Michigan's probably not as bad as we thought they were. Michigan's defense looked pretty damn good for the most part. Started to unravel a little bit there in the late third into the fourth. Offensively, I don't think it's going to be a sound strategy to just run it 85 times. I don't think you're going to have success doing that against Penn State and Ohio State. But I think they're
maybe Penn State.
Yeah,
they've done that before.
Yeah, no kidding. But I think Michigan's going to be. I think they're perfectly fine right at like the 15 to 18th best team in the country. I don't give them much credit more than that. I think USC is probably right there, 15 to 18. Not much more, not much less. I do think there's a sizable gap between teams like USC and Michigan and teams like Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia. Like, I think there's a pretty big gap, but we'll see. We'll see. Tennessee looks pretty good. Oklahoma looked a little shell shocked in their SEC debut.
Yeah.
Offense looked atrocious. So Tennessee might be a bigger problem than I think, when we came into the year than we expected. Nico seems to be really good.
It's a dog.
Um, any thoughts on? I just think Oklahoma's not very good. Like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
It's
was
funny that I texted you about Kansas State too. It's funny that like two of the transfer quarterbacks that kind of got pushed out for the younger guy isn't really working out between Avery Johnson and Jackson Arnold's actually getting benched, I believe, or he got benched in that game.
yeah.
And I think the job's up for grabs. So just funny to see how that kind of worked out. But yeah, man, Tennessee's. I like what they're doing. I'd like to think that now I'm a Peyton Manning fan and all that. I'd like to think that if the Buckeyes fell off the face of the earth, like I would give Tennessee a look of like, oh, maybe that's my new program to watch. I don't
There's
know.
something
There's
about
just
like
yeah,
I do like their fan base is as passionate as it gets.
yeah,
Like I'm with you. Like Nebraska gives me the same kind of vibes for like you said, if Michigan fell off the face of the earth and I had to go pick another team, like I think
Michigan.
Did I say Michigan?
You said Michigan. I'm a little.
No, I said Nebraska.
No, but you said if Michigan fell off the face of the earth.
Oh, good God. Yeah, I hope
It's even worse. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they do.
Okay.
No, if Ohio State fell off the face of the earth, yeah.
Yes. I needed you to correct that. I really
okay.
needed you
Thank
to
you.
correct that.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, I know for a fact I didn't say
Yeah,
like
no, you said
yeah, okay.
Nebraska. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so yeah, I kind of like what's going on in Tennessee. Seems like they might be back? Question mark.
Yeah.
And then we look ahead to next week, the big one, Georgia, Alabama. It's been a lot of fun watching this game for the last 3 to 4 years, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun on Saturday. Any predictions? What's the spread sitting at on this now? Let me go look at it.
Yeah, go look at it. I mean, at the end, the cool thing about this game is most of the time when we see this, it's either like SEC or either SEC title game or national championship, college football playoff. But yeah, now we get it in the middle of September, which rarely happens. So, anyways, I'm excited for it. Because of what happened with Georgia and Kentucky, there's some question marks around it. Clearly, they've had some time to rest, drive recklessly around the state of Georgia to get ready for this. So, in their element there. But
I just saw like it was like some high school kid that just got like a high school recruit. He's like a 4-star receiver, got pulled over, and they're like, Georgia just picked up the phone so fast.
Oh, dude. It's my favorite. I saw Jalen Carter was like going crazy on the sideline for the Eagles, and like he cannot wait to get in a car right now.
Yeah,
he is begging to get in a car right now. Anyways.
Guess that line.
Guess the line. Is it at Georgia?
It's at Alabama.
It's at Alabama. Okay. Bama 2.5.
Georgia 2.5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
my personal lean would be Bama. Again, now it may be an overreaction to what they did. I know Bama struggled with USF, but how they struggle with a bad Kentucky team just makes me a little worried, and you have the home edge. But I guess sport books have it the other way. What do you lean?
I still think I lean Georgia.
Okay.
Like I look at that Kentucky game that's why it gives me a little bit of fear, like the Michigan State. Kentucky's not very good. Michigan State's not very good, but like you go in, this is the Super Bowl for those teams. Both night games, like the stadiums are going to be very loud. It's the same reason it gives me the same vibes of like you have an off night and the other team is playing their lights out. Like things get a little hairy. I don't think that's going to be the case for us. I think we're just much better than that. But so I'm not trying not to put too much stock into that game. I just think Georgia's better on both sides of the ball. Georgia's
Yeah.
got some stuff to figure out offensively. But I think Alabama does in a sense too. Like
Yeah.
it goes both ways. So I'm going to lean. I would probably just do money line, but 2.5 doesn't feel terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other one that Big Ten matchup, ranked play, Illinois at Penn State.
Yeah. Hey, Illinois is legit.
Guess that line.
At Penn State. Oh God, Penn State's probably got them by 13.5.
17.5.
Really?
I kind of want to put a little juice on Illinois.
17.5 to Illinois.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that now I'm like, I need to go.
Yeah,
bet that line real
I
quick.
kind of want to put a little bit of juice. I understand it's at Penn State, but like Penn State's had their scares this year against like Bowling Green. I'm struggling to see where 17.5 is coming from. I thought it was going to be like 9.5, which I probably would have bet Penn State, but 17, it feels like a lot.
By the way, holy shit! I'm getting into FanDuel, but the Bills are up 34-3 right now. Anyways, it's not even halftime.
I've got it up on the TV.
It's
it's been like 3 and outs for Jacksonville, and Josh Allen is just going absolutely nuclear.
My wife needed Josh Allen and James Cook to go off to even have a chance in one of her fantasy matchups. I was like, yeah, maybe. Now I think there might be a chance. But anyways, back to college football. 17.5. Yeah, man, I'm tempted. Illinois seems to be, well, and that's a night game too. I mean, clearly Penn State night game at home is, I don't know if they're doing the whiteout, but that's a pretty tough environment. But man, I love this line. Might be.
Is that a whale play? Is that
might be a whale play?
Is that the whale play of the week?
That might be the whale play. But
yeah, no, that's it. We did give some bold predictions at the beginning of the year. One of them, or I guess not bold predictions, but kind of set some lines on some things. One of them was 480 points. This was kind of taking into account last year's offense and some of the good offenses that the Buckeyes have had. We're on pace for 628. We set the line at 480.5. Granted, we're not going to be playing MAC teams for the rest of the year, but this offense seems like they can put points up in bunches and do it really fast. So I feel like we're going to blow that 480 out of the water. Jeremiah Smith, we set at 849.5. He's at 281 on track for 1,124 yards. Emeka Ibuka, we set at 12.5 touchdowns. He has 2 on pace for 8, but I think you're going to see him have a couple double-digit touchdown games. Once we get into the thick of this schedule, throwing it a little bit more, opening up that playbook a little bit more. So not in a terrible spot there. And I think Will Howard's going to beat that 2,800 mark as well.
Yeah, I think I was on the wrong side of every single one of or other than Jeremiah Smith. I think I've been on the wrong side of all of these because I definitely thought Emeka was going to go over. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, there's just so many options to for the touchdowns there. 12.5 seems a little difficult. I think he can get close, but yeah, points. Curious to check in on this one, like October 14th after we get through Iowa and Oregon and all of that. But yeah, I think we're gonna blow a lot of these numbers out of the water. So it's just part of it. Cool, man. Well, let's do it. Big Ten football. I'm excited for it. On the cock. We'll see how that goes Saturday night. We'll be back to recap and do everything again next Monday. Any final words for our Buckeye Breakdown listeners before we go?
I have bad news.
We're not going to be live next Monday. Okay.
We will be live.
Oh, okay.
But I will be at a hotel again.
Oh, God, please upgrade your Wi-Fi package.
So
put it on the company card, please.
The worst part about it is I'm going to be at the Maddens in Minnesota, which is out in like BFE.
John Madden?
It's on like Gull Lake, which
You're going to John Madden's house?
yes,
Okay.
the Maddens, yes. It's on Gull Lake. 54 holes of golf is
Ooh.
going to be right outside of the very small conference center that I will be attending and talking about all the wonderful ways we save students' lives.
love it.
But yeah, so I'm hoping to get up there Sunday and play like a Twilight 9 with some
Yeah.
rented like Top Flight golf clubs. I don't care. I just want to get out there and go play. But I'm hoping the Wi-Fi is okay to where we can do this and not have a similar week 2 experience.
Yeah, if not, maybe we'll we'll figure things out. Either way, we'll be back to recap it in some fashion, and keep up with us on Twitter for all of that. So, all right, everybody, thanks for listening. Let's break I think we had 20 people that rewatched the stream last time, so let's get it to 24 this time. But
let's do it.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.